You women will suffer to understand. Getting right into it, another video, giving all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostles, elder bishops, great millstone, much salutations to the brothers, teach word for the hopeful election to be the elect most high will, to the extended multitude, shalom, blessings, men, women, and children. You will suffer to understand this American way that you're thinking is not biblical. And you're thinking also in the structure of our so-called structure of our curses when it comes to a woman and marriage and so forth, her puberty and all that. Now, I looked, I asked AI a few things. I'm going to read it. It says, in biblical times, women typically married in their early to mid-teens, often between 12 and 18 years old. Marriage was closely linked to the onset of puberty, which was considered the start of adulthood. Jewish custom often saw girls betrothed by age 12 or 13, with the marriage occurring shortly after. This is biblical. I have and then I asked, what does flower of her age mean? Because that's written in 1 Corinthians 7:36. Refers to the peak of a young woman's youth, specifically the prime marriageable age after puberty. It signifies a time of sexual maturity when a woman is physically capable of bearing children, often viewed as the ideal or natural time for marriage to take place. Now, tell you this too, the customs of America, how American families are raised, especially black families, because they suffer. Like we said, we're not the rich nation. We're not on top. We don't have a banking system. We don't have a military. Things you need as a nation to provide the best care for your people, your own people, your own race. Now, so if a woman, a young woman, growing up, if it was order in the house, it would be completely different than how they view mid-teen or marriageable age, how they view marriage itself between a man and a woman. It would be definitely different. 12 and 13 is the time that usually women start kind of, they go through their cycle and they start, getting developed, having hormones, and this is the time that they kind of run away from home, or they have problems with their mother, because it's usually the mother raising the children now. But even back then, with two parents in the house, father and the mother, is usually a time where she started rebelling. Really, she's supposed to be off with a man. Now, if she's 12 or 13, she can't get with a 12 or 13-year-old. He's not ready. And, I was looking at that, Jess Hilarious. I think she got her own podcast, but she's part of the Breakfast Club, one of the hosts, and she has her father on here. And it's a no for no monetary gain or no money or what have you. But they're talking about, parenting, and you see she has a book called Till Death Do We Parent. So she has her dad on here and his own words about how she was and as a child, and things he thought about concerning her growing up and her getting into dating and her, starting to grow up, get tattoos and what have you. And she definitely mentioned a gap during that time, like they started to kind of separate. I don't know if it was a divorce factor between her father and her mother. I don't think she talked about that, but you know, um, it was a gap, and I don't know if she became independent and got out the house. I know my sister, she moved out. She had she got pregnant at 15, had a baby at 16, moved out on her own at 16, had a husband, had you know, a baby daddy and everything. So that's a common thing. I don't know if so-called black women remember that. I mean, this is a new generation, of course. I mean, we're in different times, but that doesn't change the the law of the Bible. That doesn't change the changing of times with man and and what he does on earth doesn't change biblical history and biblical facts and the presence of the relevance of biblical teachings and instructions. It still applies today. So they're gonna talk about, and I'll just show a little bit clip because it's not gonna, they have a 30-minute video, but I'm gonna play it. She does mention somewhere in here that about the conflict with her father when she got pregnant and all that, and I think she got pregnant at well, she started dating at least by 16. So now you'll have women saying, well, they're just children. But what did it say in the scriptures? And hopefully I'll get to that. It says, "Do you elder women guide the younger women?" And they don't. They don't, man. They don't take responsibility to guide. They really want their daughters out the house. Like, yeah, especially if they get a new man. They like, yeah, you're my business. You in my that's a burden taking care of you. You act grown, so get out. And that's when they was like they like 12 or 13 years old. But that's when those emotions start, and that's when that But anyway, let me turn it up a little bit.
I wanted to date older, right? And then you have some people that say, some people like chalk that up to,
So she's saying she just stated that she was dating that she liked older men. I mean,
I just want to go in there and hug this young girl. Like, girl, no, you can date somebody your age or 5 years. There should be a 5-year rule, But I do remember in my younger years, I wanted to date older, right? And then you have some people,
because older men are more established, and that was a common thing with Jake. The females that were like 16 or 17, they would want the guys that's already out of high school, rolling around, and then in their cars, because the guys that had the cars, the dudes that had the cars, they was like they go around the school and hit on the high school females, but they wanted that. And also around like 15 years old, 14, 15, I remember they used to have the Cabbage Patch. They used to actually bring Cabbage Patch dolls to school to pretend that they were that was their baby, a Cabbage Patch doll. So it's in their mind to want to be a mother in that age. But let me.
That say, some people like chalk that up to, oh, she got daddy issues. She never had a dad in her life, or her father's missing, or whatever. I've always had my dad. I just don't know why I went through that phase of liking older men. And I even say, like, my father never even knew that this was a thing, because I never brought none of them niggas home. One, and then, or they never brought me home because they was old enough to bring me home. But I'm saying, like, I never would ever even imagine that being a conversation. Because I know you would kill a nigga or he would be in jail.
Yeah, I find ways to get him, where I ain't got to go to jail with him or for him or about him. But I think what it could have been was we mature so much behind you guys. So you almost need a 3-4 year gap just to feel like you're on a level of a guy like I said, when I met Rome, I knew Rome wasn't ready.
Right.
Now, she knew Rome. She met her boyfriend, became a baby daddy. The father didn't think he was father material or boyfriend material, but they had a baby, but they were both the same age, but he wasn't ready. And like he said, he's saying in this that they say men mature, that women mature faster, so like if you get with if it's a 15, 16-year-old girl, she would want somebody more mature than her, and be more grown and with more stability. Because a 16-year-old guy wouldn't be ready to take on fatherhood and take on those responsibilities. I mean, there's a lot of responsibilities come with a child. So, they wouldn't have the means. Now, if you go back in the day to where we were a nation, we had a lot of those things covered because there was order in the house. So, you'll have some kind of supervision and by some kind of means, the money being taken care of and things being financed. But we're in our curses, so that doesn't come. So where do you get stability being a young woman, and you having problems with your mother? Often girls, they usually they move out and get a place with their boyfriend. It ain't even with the girlfriend. It ain't like, well, let's get an apartment. And no, it's usually they involved with a man, and he's usually older. But let me continue to play this.
That didn't mean he wasn't a great kid or a great young man.
Mm-hmm.
He just wasn't father material. Probably wasn't even boyfriend material.
No, he was not.
So you have to, like you say, you have to climb a little bit just to find your intelligence. Somebody that's on your level for just to have a conversation.
And it says in the scriptures too. On our part, it says, dwell with them according to knowledge. So we're not going to be with a silly, young, acting, ditzy girl or whatever. And that's another thing this American has dumbed down our people, so they don't learn. Like, even with these scriptures, you'll learn a lot how we teach the scriptures in a day to where you'll become more mature. So, and it talks about a wisdom changing a man's face. So, you can imagine the women that were that age back then, they looked more mature and they were more mature. This society has been dumbed down, especially here in America. What did it say? According to knowledge. It says, likewise, 1 Peter 3:7, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. So like they were saying, she desired older men that were more mature than her, that were more responsible. And she's not going to get that with somebody the same age as her, being 15 to 16, or even 14, 13 to 12. Like it says, that's biblical. But let him finish.
That's exactly what it was. I was like,
I know that was just so different between two 16-year-olds.
Right.
Two 17-year-olds. You almost got to go 21-17.
Yeah, because
he said 21-17. He said, but if he knew about the Bible, he would tell the truth about how 12, 13, and I know it's a touchy subject, but even with starting with the apostle, elder bishops on down, that had to be brought out, and it became a stumbling block to a lot of people, and still is today. But they don't have no shame, because you're not supposed to be ashamed of the gospel. Anyway,
women, we mature faster than men, and I know that sounds like a cliche phrase, but it's true. And so that's what I wanted to hear. I'm glad that you make me feel better about that, because I'm always nervous when I talk about it. I'm like, shit, like I ain't never had no daddy issues. Why do that? Why I literally.
And I don't think that. And personally, as a man, I'm gonna just say, I think it's that way because men are simple, boys are simple. We could just go outside and play in the dirt, but women gotta be entertained, and their mind has to be, pretty much entertained by something for them to put thought into it, for them to respond to it and apply themselves to it. So they might move out before a young man out of their father's house, because, and even with curiosity, but the young man is kind of like, yeah, I'm simple, I'm just laid back, I'll get to it, So, that's, like she said, that's cliche, but, and also really is the teachings are not right here in America. The growing up process is not right in America. Everything is thrown off because we didn't learn truth. We didn't learn real education, which comes from within, but it comes from a holy structure and of holy men taught within the wisdom of Yahweh Yahushai. I mean, it has to be said like that, because the Bible comes from, the heavens. The Bible comes from that source, and that the Bible was once at a time a book of the land, so to speak. So a lot of people that are, especially our people, are born and try to model themselves after Christian behavior, real Christian behavior, with some kind of morals. Even the ratchet women, like even Cardi B and them be saying like, yeah, I thank God for this, and that's not right, and I am loyal. If I get married, I'm loyal to my man. And she's a damn, a lot of stuff they do for the entertainment, but she's talking about her box and this and that, and having her titties, boobs out. But so that's either here or there. But for the core of our being as Israelites, we do have significance, with trying to be a good people, a moral people, if you will. So it's just been corrupted. It hasn't been straightened out to its full extent, but they have corrupted it, with the entertainment, Hollywood, and all this celebrity stuff. So it's hard for them to see these things, and it becomes bitter to them, the word, because they don't understand it, and they suffer to understand because they can't get their mind around it. But they're explaining, so to speak, how the Bible is written.
She wanted something more stable, and
she wanted something more stable.
Craved the attention of someone who could understand how to have a conversation past surface level shit, or somebody who wasn't too obsessed with themselves, or I always love to talk to men who had things going on. So
or maybe
Yeah.
not.
So
Maybe daddy issue was taken out of content. Maybe it could have been a mature person that maybe conversations we had.
yeah.
Like that. What kind of have that with a you can't have that with a 16
With somebody
like
my
you said.
age or somebody a little young.
exactly. So if she's a 16-year-old woman and maturing and pregnant and all that, she can't confide in her boyfriend. She can't talk to her boyfriend about, because he don't know what to do. So now and that's in this world of America, because we getting the knowledge and wisdom and understanding back. I did ask Google's too. I said, what's the flower of age mean? No, I mentioned that, which is in 1 Corinthians 7:36. Yeah, so her cycle, when a woman gets on a cycle, she can get pregnant. So it's like it says right here, 12 or 13, it says maritable prime. The phrase indicates a woman is in her bloom or peak youth, and if the flower has passed, there may be pressure to marry soon, as explained. Now, it's taught different in this world. It's like, no, don't get married. Don't have, and even with don't have sex till you get married. Like, who does that? Who name one of your girlfriends or your mother, ask her if she waited to marriage to have, lay down with a man. You're pretty much 99.9% of the time you're what have you, you're gonna get the answer no. Some scholars argue the phrase instead refers to male sexual passions being over the top or as disgusting. Some interpretations focus on the need for the engagement to proceed to marriage if the woman is ready. And that's another thing. I mean, that's a key word too, ready. Keith Sweat, he had that song, you may be young, but you're ready. Tracy Spencer came out with a song. She said she might be young, but she's ready. Monica, that was 13 when she came out with that song. She said it herself. She said that she's young, but she's been around enough to know just what she want. Aaliyah, age ain't nothing but a number. She was 14 when she came out with that song. So if you got these parental guidance type of, parents and all over the world in the Black community, even in the celebrity world, why are they introducing their daughters to the world as with these songs coming out of their mouth to say that they young but they're ready? Because I'm pretty sure Aaliyah wasn't talking about no a person her same age. I mean, a person younger than her, because that would be like 11 or 12. She would probably be looked like a damn, if there's a such thing as a, pedophile, she'd be looked at that. So she had to be talking to somebody older than her. Now, if you say, well, she was talking to about maybe an 18-year-old guy. Well, that's not 4 years is nothing. You know what I'm saying? If a woman has passed the flower of her age and she's 14, and let's just keep it in a kind of like in that realm of teenager, and she is with an 18-year-old, but she's a woman because she's able to have a baby. You're able to have a baby at 12, 13, 14. So you move right into motherhood quickly. Your body start to develop for that too. A woman gains weight when she gets pregnant. So you start to feel the mother effects of being pregnant. It kind of prepares you a little bit itself. But and then you get to a age where you like you're 30 years old and he's 34. You know, it's like what draws the line in age is maturity and the flower of your age. You know what I'm saying? Like the scriptures say, dwell with them according to knowledge. When a woman reached the flower of her age, you know. And let me go to that scripture and close out, see what it says. But you can't get around this. And it has to be talked about. That, like, that's what GMS talks about, the hard subjects that the world doesn't want to talk about. But you can't avoid the subjects of the Bible. Everything has to be talked about so everybody can understand what everything is. If that's the case, then, you know, how can you get right with the knowledge of what the Holy Spirit is saying? Let me see. Yeah, 1 Corinthians 7:36. But if a man think that he behaveth himself uncomely toward his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, and need so require, let him do what he will. He sinneth not. Let them marry. See? So, and then they said, well, that's the Old Testament. They were crazy back then. No, well, these are laws. Same laws apply to today. Same laws that keep your ass out of trouble. Same laws that if you follow the guidance of, you'll be better off as a person, as a man, as a woman, as a child. So you can't say that. Read the law. So you got flower of age. And I think that let me just go into that word. I'm getting close out. Flower. Hyperamkas. Huperakmas.
Strong's G 5230.
Huperakmas. I butchered that. Beyond the bloom of primal life, overripe, plump and ripe, and so in the greater danger of development of a virgin. So, like I said, when the woman gets pregnant, she gets plump, she gains weight, she gets ripe, she starts developing, her titties get bigger, you know. So, you know, but if she's not mature and acting foolish, that's why a lot of times when a man, even Job said, you talk like a foolish woman, like you supposed to be like mature. What's your problem? You're acting like a you know, acting childish. Like, you know, don't you know that we won't receive, will we not receive evil for this? So a lot of women are immature in this place. We don't really desire women as wife material because they're immature and they don't have the Holy Spirit. They don't follow the spirit of Yahweh Yahushai. They don't respect a man and honor their husband. Even their husbands, if they have one, they don't honor. And they're promiscuous and all that. So, you know, and they don't teach the younger women anything. They're not a guide to the younger women. So, you know, don't worry about us. Y'all trying to sleep with all the women. No, we're not. You know? But if it comes to a point where there's a mature Edomite, Elamite, Ethiopian woman, and she's submissive, and she's in line with the spirit, she might be a Jake too. Don't come at us like, why are you with her? You know? But that's neither here nor there, because, you know, my point is that, you know, women will suffer to understand because of their own, in their own minds, that they have developed this modern day teaching of America how things supposed to be. And that's not, we're the people of the Eastern world, not the Western world over here in America. This is all lies. This is all wrong over here. So when they hear those things from the Bible, Eastern teachings from the Bible, it kind of shakes them up because they're not used to knowing or hearing about it. But once they become knowledgeable, you know, they should consider, you know, and if they have any kind of logic, they would, you know, be like, well, yeah, it does make sense. But like I said, I showed the example of just hilarious. She said it out of her own mouth, and even at her father's presence, you know, he agreed too. Like, nah, you would need an older man. So anyway, Shalom, hope it was edifying.